It was really over 8 years of trying to have a baby, and it was a really harrowing time, emotionally, physically, financially.
There's very little Lisa Messenger hasn't tried to fulfil her dream of becoming a mum.
I went through trying to adopt, trying to have a baby naturally, trying with donor sperm, then lots and lots of different IVF protocols.
She's endured 18 rounds of IVF and spent more than $500,000.
I injected myself something like 480 times, and I, before that, hated needles. I had 16 phone calls ultimately from the IVF clinic saying, not this time, after an excruciating 2-week wait. You know, so many thoughts of helplessness and fear and all sorts of things. And then suddenly this extraordinary human stepped up and was like, well, I can carry a baby. And it was like, wow.
That extraordinary human is mother of 3, Sarah Megginson. The pair are work buddies turned besties. Several years into their friendship, Sarah made Lisa the unexpected offer over lunch.
I didn't intend to go to that lunch today. I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm going to offer to be a surrogate. We were just catching up as girlfriends, and she said, oh, the IVF's not going very well. And I just said, oh, if you ever want a surrogate, I'm here.
When Sarah said that to me sitting on that rooftop in Surrey Hills that day, I was like, who says that? Who does that? What an angel. I got shivers even thinking about it. But also, I just wasn't ready.
I had just recently had a miscarriage, just a few months before that, and I just felt like cracked open, and just I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that here was this person who really wanted a baby, and through reasons that were not her fault, she couldn't have one. I had these 3 beautiful, healthy kids that I just blinked and they arrived, and it felt like something I could do to even the playing field. We had that conversation and then we didn't talk about it for about 4 years.
But the seed had been sown, and in 2022, she fired off a text message to her friend that would change both their lives.
Sarah had just texted me and said, how's the IVF going? And I just texted back and said, not great, still want to be a surrogate. Sarah was like, yep, just got to check out a few medical things, but let's do it.
And so began their shared labour of love.
I looked at this as one big adventure. I knew there were going to be hard moments. There would be challenges. My husband reminded me at the beginning, you get really sick in pregnancy. And I was like, I know, I'll be fine. And then until I'm vomiting 12 times a day. And I was like, oops, that's right. This is pretty hard. But all of that kind of pales in comparison to what we got at the end of it, which is this beautiful little boy.
Sarah's first round of IVF as the surrogate ended in an early miscarriage. They tried again the following cycle, and finally, they had big news to share.
When we had the first scan and heard the heartbeat, we were just bawling. Yeah. And those types of moments were so special. And the opportunity to have this completely new experience where I was celebrating all these moments, but not for me personally.
Every single day of growing a baby together was just the most extraordinary thing.
There were some funny situations though. My husband loved it towards the end where people would be like, oh, congrats, you guys are having a baby. And he would say, it's not mine. And they would look awkward for a second and I would say, oh, it's not mine either. And then it would spark some funny conversations. But the number one things people say to me is, how could you hand the baby over? But I went into it with a really clear mindset and boundary that it wasn't my baby. And from the beginning, we called it Lisa's baby in my pregnancy. I felt very, very protective, but I never had that maternal pull with him because we were just so deeply connected to the goal, which was to get Lisa and Stephen a baby.
And in July last year, they brought baby Hugo into the world.
I caught Hugo, so I delivered my own baby, which was pretty wild. Stephen cut the cord. Hugo did not leave my arms for hours. And then as soon as she was able, I took Hugo over and put him on her chest as well, and we had quite a few tears.
There are only about 130 surrogacy births in Australia each year. Commercial surrogacy is illegal, which means the only money allowed to change hands is for pregnancy and birth-related expenses.
There's a lot of paperwork and red tape and bureaucracy and hoops to jump through.
There was just mountains of paperwork afterwards to register as birth. Because I was the legal parent, I had to do it all. So I had to register as birth and register him with Medicare and all of that stuff, which was a rude shock. In a perfect world, there would be legislation that would catch up a little bit on the logistics in Australia. It would be great if Lisa and Stephen were recognised as the baby's parents from the moment he's born.
There are various rules around advertising for a surrogate, depending on which state you live in. The woman is usually a friend or relative or sourced through online forums.
When I hear stories about people who connect online and they perhaps don't have the depth of friendship we had going into it, I can see how that could be difficult because there was so much trust both ways. They had to trust that I was going to do the right thing, eat the right things, grow the baby the healthiest way, give birth, hand him over, and do all of that without any, bumps in the road. So it is a big leap of faith.
But one that paid off. And now they're embarking on a new journey together, releasing a book about their unconventional path to parenthood.
I hope people read the book and just feel inspired and hopeful that when you are open to adventure and you're vulnerable with people you love, that the most extraordinary things can happen.
Yeah. And also, the power of possibility and never giving up.
And as for more babies?
Not with me.
Well,
My shop was shut. The moment he was out, I just remember the overriding relief of I never have to give birth ever again. Because my labours might be fast, but they are painful.
well, we still have 4 embryos, and I would love more siblings for Hugo, and I just love him to pieces. So if there are 4 more tummies out there who I can trust and that we have great communication with.
You want 5? We will visit from afar. 5 children. What a time.
Great
Know a
story.
bit about that, 5 children.
Amazing. Oh,
What an incredible gift, huh?